Hi, and welcome to Life in 5, pro-life news that matters. I'm Hayley. This week, we're looking at 3 stories involving culture here in the Western world and whether or not this secular outlook is working for us. There has been recent polling from the Australian Institute on the attitude towards abortion in Australia. While it's worth being very cautious about how polling data is collected and what it fully represents, the results suggest a gap between current attitudes and level of cultural shift needed on this issue. Statistics are always difficult to verify. It can be hard to know whether the statistics reported in the news article accurately represent the attitudes of the public or whether they represent biased opinions of the researcher putting the poll together. Either way, the story itself speaks directly into the problem of abortion and the culture. Those in charge of providing statistics either believe that the public can be easily misled, which is then the problem of indifference to the truth of abortion in the culture. Or we have the situation where the actual attitudes of the public have been captured by these statistics, which indicates that there is a disregard for the sanctity of human life. It is interesting to note that the data presented in Australia is strikingly similar to US data and would suggest very similar attitudes across the Western world. Again, this highlights that whatever situation we are facing in Australia, that it is a problem of culture which is affecting the Western world. Despite whatever we may think of the data and its collection, the deeper issue remains the same. Laws alone cannot change a culture. Even if legislation were to shift tomorrow, it would not automatically change the hearts and minds. What needs to change is not just policy, but it's people. Hearts need to be changed, minds need to be renewed, and as a culture, we need to reflect on whether what we are doing is truly working. Death could soon be just a phone call away. New research from University of Queensland is calling for voluntary assisted dying to be expanded through telehealth. They are arguing that this would improve access, especially for people in rural areas. They say the benefits outweigh the risks, they say that this is about healthcare equity, and they say that video calls can be just effective as in-person assessments. But this raises a serious question. We're being told that this is healthcare, that it's compassionate, that it's the best for people. But in reality, are we truly caring for them or are we failing them? We were told that this would be tightly controlled, careful, in person, and protected. What happened to the safeguards that we were promised? Now, those same protections are being pushed aside and being replaced with consultations over a screen, and life-ending drugs are potentially being delivered or picked up locally. Even if the risks are debated, they are not being safeguarded. The direction is very clear. Access is expanding as the barriers are being lowered. And once again, we are being shown something much deeper. This isn't about policy, it's about our culture. Even if laws change, even if systems expand, the real issue is the human heart. Laws don't change hearts, systems don't change values. If we want to see real change, we need to change hearts and minds. We need to ask whether what we are doing is truly caring for people or are we failing them? Because how we value life shapes the minds and the hearts of the next generation. And now, some positive news from the UK. Meet 21-year-old John Alexander from Buckinghamshire. For John, being against abortion came well before he even found his faith. As a teenager, he argued passionately online against abortion, while most of his peers supported it. After the pandemic, he discovered Christianity that was inspired by a Pentecostal church that talked openly about social issues, including life, in a way that he had not heard before. At university, John joined the Pro-Life Society and became a fan of American activist Charlie Kirk. Charlie's bold, unapologetic advocacy for life inspired John to speak more openly. Even after Charlie was assassinated, John says it continues to motivate him. Charlie died for standing on the truth of Jesus Christ, and his death should convict us. John has made his own social media videos, one being called Britons Go to Church. It has over 24,000 views and has helped establish a Turning Point UK charter in Oxford. John's story reflects a bigger cultural shift in Britain. Young people are rediscovering faith. They're going to church and standing boldly for life. Even in a society that leans pro-choice, hearts and minds can be changed, and a new generation is stepping forward to speak up. This is the kind of encouraging story that shows culture, not just laws, shape the future, and that hope is alive in the pro-life movement. Thank you for tuning in for this week's Life in 5. Like, share, and subscribe so you never miss out on an episode. See you next week.